What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo, and ever since the introduction of Tier 4 characters, a lot of players have been trying to figure out, what characters should I Tier 4 first, especially considering how many resources it takes to Tier 4 any of them. Currently, right now, guys, we have 15 Tier 4 characters in the game, so, there's quite a few choices as far as, who you would want to take to Tier 4, who you'd want to work on, level up, because some of these characters are a little bit stronger than others. Some of these characters have more relevance in the game than others, as far as, the game modes that you can actually play in, how many of the game modes that you can play in, how good they are in those game modes, and so on and so on and so on. So what I've done to try to help some of you guys figure out, what Tier 4 characters should you go for first, depending on where you're at in the game, because we're all in different places in the game, I've went ahead and decided to set up a Tier 4 list. Now this is kind of like a Tier 4 guide per se for you players that are trying to figure out where you might want to use your Tier 4, because like I said earlier, everybody's in different places in the game. Now the way this thing works, guys, as you can see over here, it's pretty straightforward. We got Tier 4 characters, Universal Blast, Combat, and Speed. And then we got them color coded, and you guys can see all the characters. Now, something to keep in mind, guys, is that some of these characters have uniforms that change them from villain to hero or hero to villain. So that's always something to keep in mind. But the restrictions that I have up in here, and I want to give a big shout out to my friend Leo, who helped me out, figuring out, the characters that we use in all these stages, especially in the higher echelon stages, because on my account, I haven't pushed Jean Grey at all. I haven't pushed Gore at all. So I had to rely on other players that have been pushing all these world bosses to give me some feedback on, what characters actually will get it done in these game modes. Now, I'll explain what ABL and ABX, what these numbers mean for those in a second, but as you guys see, it's pretty straightforward, right? We have some characters will use older uniforms, but generally use the latest uniforms for these requirements. So again, most of the uniforms for these characters, whether it's Iron Man, Moon Knight, Thor, so on and so on, they're going to use their latest uniforms for most of these requirements in World Boss Legend. However, there are some exceptions to the rule, like Superior Iron Man when he turns into a villain, Phoenix, in her blast uniform, and so on, right? Even Black Bolt, he's a villain now, but before he was a hero. So some of these restrictions require them to be a hero or a villain to get it done, but they can get it done, especially if you have your account leveled up. So the way this works, guys, as you can see, I got Null here, Mephisto, Gore, Ultron, Gore, and Jean Grey. So, for example, we have Iron Man here. Iron Man can do stages 10 to 24 against Null, 30 to 39, and 90 to 94. He can do all those against Null. Now, something else to keep in mind, guys, is that your Valor level, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, your Valor level needs to be really, really high, especially in them super, super high stages. Then, of course, you're going to need a fairly leveled up account, right? But your Valor level means everything as far as the damage that you're doing, this right here, right? The basic damage increase bump that you have and the Valor level. So if you have the recommended Valor, your character will be able to get it done if you're using this, obviously the right character and good builds, decent cards, and so on. So do keep that in mind. If your Valor level is a little bit low, then you're not going to be able to get it done, even if you have good card sets. I can tell you guys from experience, that's definitely happened to me quite a few times, especially when I get into the higher echelon of World Boss Legend. But this is very straightforward, guys. So you can look and see how many times you're going to use Iron Man, how many times you're going to use Moon Knight, how many times you're going to use Thor, and so on and so on and so on. You can figure out what Tier 4 character you want to go for next, what you want to work on right now, as far as, what are you trying to do? Which world boss are you working on? Are you working on Null? Are you working on Mephisto? Are you in Mephisto at stage 29 and now you need stage 30, right? So, if we go to Mephisto, you want to do a stage 30 clear, 30 to 34, so we look for 30 to 34 in here, and here we go, Black Widow. And if you notice, guys, Black Widow and Shadow Shell have an insane amount of requirements, especially against Null and Mephisto, right? So those would be really good characters to level up just for that reason for those world bosses if you're trying to push. So, you just can figure out exactly who you need to level up, who you need to work on as far as, getting it done in World Boss Legend. Now, let me explain ABL and ABX and the way that I figured this out. So you guys can see for Iron Man, we have 3 for ABX. What that means is how many times you can actually use the character in that particular game mode where they're going to get either the cap score. In ABX, I'm going by cap score, which is 12 million points. In ABL, I'm going by 6 million points. I'm not going by cap. I'm just going by, can the character get 6 million points on a fairly developed account? Remember, you do need a certain amount of energy attack, physical attack, maybe some Odin's blessings and all those kinds of things. But Iron Man can definitely get 6 million in ABX, and he can definitely cap out he can get 6 million ABL, and he can definitely cap out ABX. So because of the 2 no restriction days in ABX, those are 2 days that he can do the 12 million, and he's the meta for Blast Male, okay, superhero. And then, so that's 3 times. And then in ABL, he can be used for the no restrictions twice in ABL and get them 6 million points. All right, and then like for say like Moon Knight, again, both no restriction days, he can cap out, get 12 million. He can also cap out on Combat Hero Day as well. So that's 3 days that he is actually good, so 3 times. And then in ABL, 2 no restrictions. And then also, for Combat Superhero, he can do it again. So there's 3 times. So you can see how many times you can actually use this character to do fairly well in ABX and ABL on top of the World Boss Legends. Because most of these characters, guys, in fact, almost all of them, are going to be more PvE oriented, right? There are some exceptions like Jean Grey, who obviously is going to be, timeline freaking god, right? And arguably Hawk too, right? Hawk's fallen off quite a bit, in all honesty, guys. But you could still use him. I don't have him listed here because, in all honesty, he's not the most optimal anymore. He's still a good PvP character, especially in AC. He's awesome. But this isn't AC. This is timeline where all the big meta characters are at. And you can see I even have it here in red, 95.99 for Jean against herself, because we don't really know if she can do 95.99, to be perfectly honest. So I got it in red just because I'm not really sure. Nobody's doing 95.99 Jean yet, although, I'm sure it will happen eventually. But I thought this would help some of you guys out there as far as, trying to figure out, who do you want to work on? I mean, honestly, guys, part of the reason that I did this list was obviously to try to help you out, but really to help me too, because I'm actually in a place where I'm just like, who do I work on? I don't really know. What character is going to benefit my account the most at this given time in the game for me? And that's how you should be looking at it too. What character is going to benefit you the most? What World Boss Legend are you at, and what are you trying to push? What is the next character you want to tier 4 and work on? And also something else to keep in mind, guys, is a lot of these clears, especially in these lower levels, they don't need to be tier 4. They just need level 80. Right? Iron Man can push very, very high level 80. Thor can go very, very high level 80. There's quite a few of these characters at level 80 that can do very, very high stages, guys. They can go into the 70s and so on, man. They can go very, very high in these World Boss Legends. And also something else to keep in mind is that, each of these World Bosses, like Null's going to be the easiest. Mephisto's going to be a little bit more difficult. Ultron's going to be even more difficult, and so on and so on and so on. They get harder and harder and harder. So them lower levels won't be as easy for a level 80 character. You're going to have them at tier 4 to go, fairly high, guys. And something else to note is say for a character like Storm here, Storm more than likely is going to need her paywall uniform. And that's going to be a thing that's going to hurt this character as far as players wanting to level her up and tier 4 her. For sure, man. A lot of players, didn't buy her uniform, so they're not going to have it, and she just won't be near as good. Even at tier 4, she won't be near as good compared to this uniform that she has. And as we get more tier 4s, I will update this thing. I will keep adding them on and on and on. And so you guys know exactly, all the restrictions, where you can actually use them. Are they good in ABX, ABL, and so on and so on and so on. And then I also have up in here, guys, the requirements. To be you either need to be an ABX meta or you need to be able to cap. And then for ABL, you need to be ABL meta or able to hit 6 million. So that way you guys know, the standards that I'm actually going by in here. So hopefully this will help some of you guys out there. I will put a link to it in the description below, so that way you guys can click on it, check it out. I also have ABX teams also on that sheet that you can look at and see, what ABX teams you're going to use for specific days. So again, hopefully this will shed some light on the next tier 4 character that we're going to work on, or just taking a character to level 80, because again, in lower levels in World Boss Legend especially, guys, these characters will do very, very well. You won't even need to have them at tier 4. So guys, let me know what you think about the tier 4 priority list, and I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. DT+7 time. The link is in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See everybody. Take care.